Welcome, everyone, to the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roland J. And now introducing RJ, who's going to become a permanent member of our podcast. So, with that said, I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ.
You'll get the hang of it, dude.
Roll, J, RJ.
And RJ.
Yeah.
So before we get into our episode, guys, we really appreciate you sticking with us and watching. We're going to ask if you would please give us a like and subscribe at the bottom. As always, we invite you to leave us any comments that you might have. We truly appreciate you guys giving us your time. And with that said, I think let's go ahead and get this one underway.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, one thing to add, bro. I know we've been saying give us the like and subscribe down at the bottom. I found that it's very important, guys, for you to hit the little bell too, because that'll turn your notifications on to let you know that when our new content uploads, so you get a notification. So like, subscribe, and then hit the bell, please.
All right, very good. Well, we're at that time of year where school is winding down. My daughter still has a couple weeks left to go, but my other son, Alex, he's done and looking at what he's going to do for the summer. But so many kids are graduating. So every year it's an annual ritual, whether it's from high school or from college. And the big twist this year is that COVID has really disrupted all of the end of school year ceremonies and activities. So it's to some degree, it's been a little bit of a bummer. However, I think the creative spirit, not only of our country, but just humanity in general, has come up with some wonderful ideas. And all these, I don't know if you've seen any of the videos, but there's been everything by drive-by celebrations, virtual graduations, and of course now with the economy opening up, they've opened up some facilities and they're doing social distancing graduations. Like at the
I think it's important for a lot of the young people. And I saw this debate on Facebook, and I saw a person actually, Roland, who went to school with you. They posted that in the grand scheme of things, this is not going to be that. They're going to look back on this and not even remember it. It's big for them now, but in the grand scheme of things and blah, 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 blah. And the counter argument to that from another one of your classmates was, well, actually, she's one of my classmates, was that, but it's important to them now.
Right.
Yes, in 20 years, they will forget about this, because I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of things about my graduation that I don't remember. I don't remember what music was played. I remember the venue. That's what stands out to me. I remember walking across the stage and getting my, your little paper diploma, because they don't give you your real one in case you flash the crowd. And I remember little things like that, but as a whole, I don't really remember a lot about my graduation. And I think that was the main point of the poster, was that they're not going to remember this in 10, 15 years. But then the counter argument again was, but it's important to them now. They worked hard to get to this point, and it's a big deal for them now. They're missing not only the graduation, but they're missing the, what do they call the
baccalaureate,
the baccalaureate,
all that stuff. So all that stuff's getting washed out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you miss, prom and things like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Too. That's right.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't get to attend their prom this year.
Well, and it's unfortunate. Again, COVID has been so disruptive. I see a little bit of back and forth of everybody saying, well, we overreacted, we shut down. And, I don't want to get into that debate necessarily here. I see both sides. I still do think that we do need to be careful. This thing could blow up and come back to bite us in the end, but, keep your fingers crossed. But anyway, so the other thing, since we're talking about graduation and you mentioned, not remembering yours, I do want to ask, I mean, what one or two memories other than, getting the paper, the blank paper
Yeah.
diploma, the ceremonial diploma, if you will. I mean, was there anything that you do remember that was a strongly fond memory? And let's start with RJ, because as you said earlier, he's the most recent graduate.
Yeah, so actually, I graduated 10 years ago to the year
Holy.
from
Sniper.
high school. You know, so
Yeah, but still,
Mine-
dude.
I remember, you know, quite a bit about mine. You know, I remember when I was nervous the whole time, and it was a hot day. I remember we got up early, me and Dad, and my graduation was at SMU at McFarland Auditorium.
Right.
And he dropped me off for rehearsal, and then I think he went and got a smoothie or something. Obviously, I don't know if I wasn't with him, but I mean, he had to stay in the area, you know. So he dropped me off. We did the rehearsal, then went home, and, you know, got dressed up, and then, you know, around the time that we needed to be there, you know, the students, we got there a little early because Mom, you know, likes to take photos. So me, Dad, Grandpa, Grandma were all there. Annabelle, Alex, of course. And, you know, we took photos, and then, you know, I had to go get in line. And next thing I can remember after that is just being like standing in the lobby of the auditorium. I think it was the lobby or wherever we were all standing, and just being hot as hell the whole time. So sweaty. And then waiting for everybody to sit, and then everybody sits, and then, you know, you're thinking like you're gonna get in there and it'll cool down, but no, it did not cool down. It's like you're sitting on the stage, and then of course like the fact that everybody's eyes are on you, you know, makes you feel even more sweaty or, you know, hot. But then when it came time to like go get your diploma and everything, you know, my focus was just on like, hey, don't mess this up, don't trip or anything like that. I feel like I could have had a better, you know, diploma picture with the bishop, but at least I didn't embarrass myself or anything. But I think for me, I do remember mine, you know, a lot, especially now after the fact, just because, you know, not to take it to a sad place, but obviously, you know, I'm the only grandchild that Grandpa got to see graduate. So I think that was pretty important and meaningful to me. So, you know, I do often go back and look at the pictures with him and with Dad. And then I remember like being excited that it was all over, and we all went to Spaghetti Warehouse afterwards. And, you know,
you could have took them to somewhere better, dude, than Spaghetti Warehouse.
Dude, I had to feed the whole family.
There was a lot of us, man.
Yeah, and I paid, man. It's like, you know, come on now. I just got through paying for that expensive education, and
I think I pitched in $20, dude. Come on, man.
What?
I think I pitched in $20.
Yeah, but you ate like $40 worth of food.
And then I remember, I was just gonna say, last thing is, I remember when I crossed the stage, there were a couple of you guys that like yelled my name and like made me get red in the face. So
that was probably your Uncle Gabriel and Uncle Renee.
No, it was
Uncle Julio.
Yeah, it was Uncle Julio and Erica.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, what color were your robes, RJ? Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were blue, and then our tassels, our school colors were blue and gold, so our tassels were blue and gold.
Okay, so ours were black and orange because we were the Tigers. So
that's right.
Black caps and gowns, and you know, the orange and black tassel.
Yeah, orange. And black
I remember mine sat on the rearview mirror of that. Remember that blue Chevy Nova we used to have?
Oh yeah.
mine sat on the rearview mirror of that thing for like 5 years afterwards, and I lost track of it. Don't know where it went. I'm sure it faded into the sun.
I think I still have mine, believe it or not.
Do you?
Yeah.
You still have all your yearbooks, dude. I don't know how you manage that.
Well, Catherine stores all that stuff, so it's.
I have one yearbook, and that's it. But I remember, you know, we went to school in Lancaster, and our graduation was in Rockwall. And I remember we had to drive all the way out there across the lake.
That's right.
Yeah, at that church on the Rock or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's where our graduation was. And I remember, like RJ, it was so hot because it's the middle of June,
Yeah.
And, you know, you're right. You think because it's, you know, you're going to be inside that it's going to cool down, but there's so many people in there that the AC is pretty useless. You know, the things I remember about my graduation, like I said, I don't remember any of the music. I don't remember any of the speeches. I remember that it was long. And I remember that, you know, it was hot. I remember us throwing our caps in the air after the end of it. And then everybody trying like hell to go find their caps after you just threw it in the air like a dum-dum. I remember there were some people that wrote things on the tops of their caps. I don't know if that was a thing at your graduation or not, RJ, but you know, people wrote stuff on the top of their caps so that I guess in pictures from the back from their family, you know, the words would appear. But honestly, that's really all I remember for my graduation. I don't remember if we went to go eat afterwards, if we went back to the ranch. I don't even remember. I just remember this is it. I'm done, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the big takeaway for me.
Yeah, mine was pretty much the same. We had ours at Duncanville, at the Duncanville Auditorium at Duncanville High School, and really the only thing I remember was Grandma and Grandma being there for my graduation. I mean, of course, you know, my family, but you know, Grandma had always been a lot more involved in our life. Especially like after Dad and Mom divorced, and Dad was, you know, he was doing his best. Mom, you know, she did her best too. But at some point, you know, Grandma kind of stepped up too and was super involved with us. Well, she'd always been a part of our lives from when we were little. But you know, she would come out to the ranch. Remember, she would wash dishes. She would cook. Mm-hmm. She would do, you know, all these other things, take us grocery shopping. So she was always there. So it was really big for me that Grandma came to my graduation. I don't remember if she went to yours, Jay.
I don't remember either. I don't remember if she went to mine either.
But I have one of my favorite pictures is with me, Dad, and Grandma out in front of the auditorium. But yeah, same thing. It's just, other than that, I really don't remember a ton either because, well, I do remember the valedictorian because he was one of my best friends, Dave. David Irvin and
David Irvin.
And Christy was was our salutatorian. But so I remember some of the speeches and some of the ceremony. But other than that, because hell, it was 30 years ago for me, over 30 years ago. So.
Hey, mine's right behind yours because I went a year after you did.
That's right.
And you know what's funny is somebody had posted some pictures online on Facebook of back in the day high school pictures. I think it was Ginger who did it. And you know, I tell Diana all the time, I don't like wearing jewelry. I don't wear watches. I don't wear necklaces. I don't wear bracelets. You know, I barely wear my wedding ring, and that's not because I don't love my wife. It's just because I'm not a jewelry person. And that comes from years of being in restaurants and, you know, getting food trapped under a watch band or whatever. So I learned to stop wearing jewelry. Well, she saw a picture of me and she's like, well, you have a watch on in that picture. How come you don't wear the watch I got you? I'm like, I don't wear watches. You know, it's just that's me. Because she gets on to me because she bought me a Fitbit.
Yeah.
I don't wear it.
Okay.
You know, she uses it now. And, you know, she's like, well, you know, how are you going to track your steps? I said, my phone's in my pocket. My, you know, iPhones track all your activity. So when you walk and all that stuff, you can pull up the My Health app on iPhone and it'll tell you all that information. The only time it doesn't work is if you don't have your phone on you. But let's be honest, who doesn't have their phone on them most of the time?
Right.
Except for Roland, you know, never.
No comment.
But, you know, hey, you know, and this is not just important for the high school graduates. You know, it has become a thing for younger students to graduate into their classes when you go from like kindergarten to first grade. And, you know, when you graduate from elementary school to either middle school or junior high, and then going from junior high to high school, those have become big celebrations.
but I kind of wonder, is that really the kids wanting that, or is that the parents?
No,
Always
that's the parents,
wanting
dude.
to
That's
stroke
all
the
parents.
ego. Yeah, because I mean, golly, I mean, I don't remember whether or not I had a graduation ceremony from when I got out of
Dude.
kindergarten. I remember RJ
Yes,
when he got out of kindergarten.
But yes, you do.
Yeah.
We didn't have graduations to go into kindergarten to first grade, dude. They're like, get out of here, done. I'm done with you.
And I exactly, and I'm like, see ya. And so I don't
Mhm.
a lot of these graduation ceremonies, because you went from
Yeah.
6th grade to 7th grade or 7th grade to 8th grade, transitioning. I guess there's one thing, transitioning from elementary school to middle school, and middle school to junior high, and then junior high to
Yeah.
high school. But I mean, really? So I do think we kind of over celebrate in this country. And I definitely think that it's more of an ego stroke for the parents than it is for the kids, because
Yeah.
just like we talk about, to some degree, it is meaningful in the moment, but 5 years, 10 years after the fact, you probably aren't going to remember as much. I mean, very little if you think about it. And that's your high school graduation, which is one of the most
Yeah.
important graduations you're going to have. Are you going to remember what happened when you went from 7th grade to 8th grade or 9th grade? Hell no.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No.
Well, speaking of ego strokes,
Uh-oh.
let's segue right into episodes 9 and 10 of The Last Dance, because if you want to talk about an ego stroke, those last 2 episodes were all about Michael Jordan telling everybody how great Michael Jordan was.
I agree. I agree. That's the tone I got out of it too.
And the thing that made me, I don't want to say mad, but it kind of irked me, was the over exaggeration of him having to have a chip on his shoulder in order to perform. Like, oh, this person wronged me when I was playing baseball. They said something, it was the story of Karl Malone, and I don't remember the other guy's name that played for the Jazz, but
Byron Russell.
Byron Russell.
Byron Russell. Yeah.
Yeah. When they went to go see him play baseball, and Byron Russell was talking, smack to him.
Mad. Yeah.
And Jordan was like, okay, you're on my list now. Like, you knew you were going to come back, and you knew you were going to come back and play, 3 more years and try to win 3 more championships and hold a grudge against him. Come on, dude. You did not. You couldn't have cared less at the time. And it wasn't until you got back in the league that you had to tell yourself that, oh, well, that guy wronged me, so I'm going to go back and get him, Or, I mean, just the over exaggeration of, he had to have be mad at this person in order to perform, at that time. So you're telling me that if Byron Russell didn't go talk shit to him when he was playing baseball, that the Jazz would have won that series? Michael Jordan wouldn't have been irked up, jacked up enough to go win that series on his own without needing Byron Russell's, shit talk to go win. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the other thing that I recognize, or that these last couple of episodes pointed out to me, was, even though Jordan made big clutch shots, a lot of those games were a lot closer than I remember. Meaning that, yes, in the end, the Bulls won. Yes, they made history, but it very easily could have gone the other way. Particularly, I think, in the series when they were against Reggie Miller and
Reggie Miller, yeah,
the Pacers.
The Pacers. I mean, really, a couple of bounces of the ball the other direction, and the streak is over, because they would have got
taking them to Game 7.
Yeah. And I think to some degree, it does still undermine or underscore how good Jordan was, man. Because no matter what, he still had to make those shots in the very clutch minutes. And to your point on the last time we had this argument, Jay, you knew who was going to get the ball. There was no doubt
absolutely
who was going to get the ball. And as you say with LeBron, LeBron at times looks to pass. He looks to take it. Jordan ain't looking to pass it. He ain't looking to
No.
pass it at all. I mean, he did ultimately for a couple of big shots that
The
Steve
John
Kerr
Paxson shot.
did. Well,
Yeah, the John Paxson in the first three, and the Steve Kerr in the second.
right. But he knew that's because they were coming. The double team was coming after him, and he found the open man. But that being said, there's still no doubt that everybody knew who was getting the ball in the last 5 seconds of the game. Everybody knew, and he still got it done.
Yeah. You know, I don't think that, honestly, anybody, even RJ, can debate Jordan's greatness. RJ can debate whether he was better than LeBron or LeBron was better than him, but you just can't. There's a pantheon of greats in every sport. And in basketball, yes, LeBron is one of the great players. Kobe's one of the great players. Bird, Magic, Kareem, Tim Duncan. You know, you just have that pantheon, and nobody can debate his greatness. Nobody can debate the things that he did. Now, some of the things that he did will never be repeated. I don't see anybody winning 3, taking 2 years off to go play baseball, and then coming back and win 3 more. You know, that's something that's unprecedented. It's something that, I think the closest to do it was Kobe when he won. You know, he won back to back, and then they had I don't remember how long the break is between.
Well,
and then they won
3.
Yeah.
Was it
3?
They won 3.
3.
They had 1 3-peat, and then the 2009 or 2008 to 2009, 2000. No, because the year that the Mavs knocked them out is the year that they were trying to 3-peat again. They were the previous year champions. So he's got 5, obviously, and he had a 3-peat and then a 2-peat.
And then, you know, the thing that I everybody tends to forget are the bit players. You know, a lot of people don't seem to realize that Steve Kerr, I think, is the only NBA player to win 4 championships in a row. Because he won 3 with the Bulls, and then the next year went right over to San Antonio, won another championship with San Antonio.
Right.
So, you know, it's there. You're right, RJ. I went back and I looked at a lot of what you said last week about Jordan having elite players on his team, and I really enjoyed the story about Steve Kerr in episode 9. I didn't know that about his father.
No, I didn't either.
You know, the story that he talked about his father going to Beirut, being the president of American University in Beirut, and being murdered. I didn't realize that actually happened. You know, that again, that's, you know, we talk about our sports consciousness from you know, when we started to recognize sports. I don't even begin to understand when my political consciousness started to happen. You know, I remember, you know, I think I was having this discussion with my wife right now. I've lived through 7, 8 presidents now. Nixon was president the year I was born. Gerald Ford. Then it went to Jimmy Carter, Reagan, Bush Sr. Then it went to Bill Clinton. Bush Jr., Obama, and now the Don. So 9 presidents. And I didn't remember until I actually went back and researched to realize that Richard Nixon was a president the year I was born. You know, and so it's little things like that. So I can't even begin to remember when my political conscience happened. So to hear that story about Steve Kerr's dad, and, you know, to see how much it still pains him after all these years of, you know, going back and reliving it, seeing his mother talk about it. I mean, that had to be killing him while they were shooting this documentary.
Well, yes, obviously you saw the emotion, but think about, I mean, we talk about this not on air, off the air, but think about when we think about our dad and losing dad so soon. I mean, I still get emotional just because I think it's just hard to lose your parent, more especially when you lose them prematurely for whatever reason, whether it's health, whether it was an accident, whether they got murdered. I mean, anytime you lose, it's more traumatic that his father was killed
Yeah.
certainly, and I'm not comparing that, but what I am saying is it's no matter what, it's an emotional loss if you have a good relationship with your parent, because you know that for the rest of your days you're never going to see them again. You're never going to talk to them again. You're never going to get to kiss them. You never get to hug them. It's you'll have the memories, and you'll have their voice internally. But yeah, you could see the emotion in there, and I think too, even Jordan, when he lost his father, he of course had tremendous emotion. But getting back to these last couple of episodes, and again to kind of reiterate, it is key to point out that Jordan didn't bring those last 3 championships alone. I mean, like I said, in the last minute when he had to make clutch plays, he made them. But a lot of times it was his teammates, the other role players, that were making the biggest impact, like Dennis Rodman. When he took off to
and that story, that story was a trip, man. When I heard that, I forgot that happened. I didn't realize, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that when he showed up at WWE at what was it, WrestleMania, that it was between games 3 and 4 of the series. Like, really, dude, you're just gonna take off, avoid practice, go hang out with Hulk Hogan, and I gotta admit though, he looked cool in the black NWA Wolfpack uniform. Dude. I forgot about that. I forgot how awesome that was. That's why I'm wearing black in honor of NWA today.
The thing that tripped me out though is, Hulk Hogan had the black beard and it looked so damn fake. It looked like you polished it on. I was like, I forgot how cheesy he looked with that that
fake beard.
It was the NWO, not the NWA. Dude.
NWO, that's
New
right.
World Order.
NWA was something else.
It was something else. That's music your dad wouldn't let you listen to when you were a kid.
The funny thing is that then he comes right back, and in the next game he turned
17 rebounds.
Didn't miss a beat.
And that's the thing is, I think a lot of people said that it would have been hell. I think Phil Jackson would have been more upset, and Michael Jordan would have been upset if he wasn't able to perform after coming back from that. But the fact that he comes in the next game and has 17 rebounds is just incredible.
Yeah, you really don't have much to say. It's like, you can bitch and moan all you want to, but at the end of the day, he got it done. They won the game, and there you go.
Phil Jackson's like, what do you want me to do? He's going to do what he's going to do. I can't, I'm not, what do you want me to do?
It's to do a comparison is, had Tony Romo won that playoff game, the Cabo.
I was going to say that.
Game, nobody would be talking not one iota about it. It would be a nothing now. But the fact that they lost, everybody is going to point to that. And while I think in Dennis's situation, that didn't happen. He showed up, he performed, and all right, move on. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
And it just goes to speak how great that last team that won championships 5, 6, and 7 were, because I think championship number 5 was the year that they went 72-10, and then the next year they turn around and win 65 games the following year. And man, I mean, you think about all the great teams that that Dirk had with the Mavericks. How many times did they win 60 games? 2 or 3 times in his entire run, 21 years.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to do.
It is. It's very hard to win 60 games, man. And then for them to do it in back-to-back seasons, 72 and 65.
Well, and I think that the one thing to keep in mind is that on both of those championship runs, while a few of the puzzle pieces changed and there was obviously turnover, for the most part, kept the core group together. It wasn't just Michael and Scotty. You know, in the first three, you had Paxson and you had BJ Armstrong and Horace Grant. And then in the second, the second grouping, you had Steve Kerr, who was there the entire time.
Tony
Kukoc, Rodman,
Dennis. Yeah, Rodman.
So in both situations, there was still a strong core that stayed together multiple years, and I think that lended itself to giving them the base formula to continue to be the best. We talk about when we bring it home to the Mavericks, the year after they won their championship, that team kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And, that the unfortunate side of that was obviously we were out of the gate. We were out of the hunt the following year. It would have been interesting to see what might have happened had we kept that
it together.
Some of them were going to go anywhere because I think Jason Kidd was ready to retire. Peja Stojakovic was retiring. A couple of guys were going to get better contracts in other teams, but keeping Tyson Chandler would have been amazing.
Caron Butler.
Yeah. Keeping those guys intact it'd have been interesting to see what happened, because no matter what, you go back and look at any team that's a dynasty, and that's one characteristic, one component of those teams is they keep a core together. The Celtics, the Lakers, Houston, when they won theirs back-to-back, San Antonio, when they won theirs. I mean, there were some bits and pieces that changed over time, but you kept kind of a core of three or four guys.
Yeah, Duncan, Manu, and Ginobili, and Tony Parker. Yeah.
So I mean, there are ways to measure again, the alpha's greatness. And again, there's no question, it's Jordan, it's Kobe, it's LeBron. There's no question about that whatsoever. But again, I think for comparison reasons, it is tough to say, what if that same team didn't have Pippen and it didn't have Steve Kerr? Could the Bulls still have won just because they had Michael Jordan? I think the answer is no. I think it still would have been a tough run, but I don't think they win. And the same can be said for LeBron to some degree. I mean, LeBron, we point to the fact, and RJ likes to say, well, LeBron took his Cleveland team with no talent, with no support.
I don't say no talent, but it's not like
okay, but he didn't have the same kind of strength, I guess, in the supporting cast that say Jordan and these other guys had. And so, and to me, that's where you can point and say, look, when LeBron was the stud, when he was the guy that was going to take the shot in the last 2 or 3 minutes, and it's almost unfair to compare the fact that you can give, again, just to bring it back to football, because that's my sport. We're going to find out what Tom Brady, his greatness is, because he's not going to have the same. He's not going to have Belichick. He's not going to have the same offensive scheme that they built in New England. He's not going to have some. I mean, he'll have Gronkowski, but who knows what Gronkowski is?
Well, yeah, he's got a shell of Gronkowski.
Well, you never know what you're going to get.
Brady might be a shell of Brady. So, that's the other thing, is that eventually age catches up with every superstar. Father Time is undefeated.
He's undefeated.
And so it'll be interesting to see that. But, when we talk about LeBron and we talk about Kobe, to say that Kobe was, he was one series away from possibly replicating what Jordan did. To me, the bigger thing that we're overlooking here is Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
Do you know how many rings he has total?
11.
Yeah. 11.
Yeah. 11 as a coach.
Yeah. 11 as a coach.
And then 2 as a player.
6 with the Bulls and 5 with the
total. He's got 13 rings, 2 as a player for the Knicks and 11 as a coach. That man has won. He's been a part of 13 championships. I mean,
Man, it just blows your mind when you think about things like that. You know, when you look at all the greats in all the sports and you know, you forget about things like that, like you know, in football, Charles Haley, you know, has what, 5 Super Bowl rings, 2 with San Francisco and 3 with the Cowboys,
right?
You know, and then you look in baseball and Jeter, who's got multiple rings with the Yankees, and you know, Gretzky, and it's just I think that we are living in a time when we're living in the golden era of sports. You know, we've had in our lifetime, bro, you and I, some great athletes come through. Now, of course, there's all the great that we never saw Wilt play. You know, we never got to see, you know, we never got to see those great Celtic teams that won, you know, 11 championships.
I did. I got, well, no, not the ones that won the 11 championships. No. We didn't get to see the UCLA team that went like 4 years undefeated or whatever ridiculous number John Wooden put out there, you know, but we've had some great franchises and great dynasties in our life. Gretzky, Jordan, you know, the Yankees, the Cowboys, hell, as much as it pains me to say it, I know the Spurs.
New England.
I thought you said Spurs.
New England.
Both of them, actually.
Yeah, that you might as well just slap me on both sides of my face and call my mama ugly, you know, because I don't want to talk about the Spurs and I don't want to talk about New England, you know, but we at least got to witness them in our lifetime, you know.
Yes.
Hell, Akeem Olajuwon. And speaking of Akeem, did you guys listen to the radio this morning?
No.
When they were talking about Wayman Tisdale?
No,
Okay, so they told us this funny story about, because you know Wayman Tisdale is a Dunham and Miller Hall of Famer, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about Wayman Tisdale, and he went into a career of music after his playing days. So, you know, his agent, instead of going everybody, you know, to these record executives and tell them that it was Wayman Tisdale, played the music for them first, and they're like, "Oh man, this guy's awesome. We need to sign him. Who is this?" "Oh, it's Wayman Tisdale." And so they were talking about how he got cancer. You know, he broke his leg one night going down to get some water for his wife. So he developed a cancerous cyst on one of his bones in his legs, and it weakened his bone, and that's how he broke his leg. And they had to amputate his leg from the knee down. But they were talking about his comeback, and they did they were talking to him and to the guy who played saxophone for him afterwards. And he's like, yeah, so these record executives were telling him, "Hey, we need you to finish this demo," or whatever. He goes, "But I got to go play Houston tonight," you know? And they got this African guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name's Akeem. He's really good, you know? Just to hear that story, man, was kind of funny. And it just reminded me how awesome, you know, Hakeem Olajuwon was. You know, so we you know, I feel like we lived in a golden age of sports where we got to see, and even now, younger generation, I know RJ's favorite player, LeBron, you know, we're getting to witness that guy. Luka, you know, Dirk. Yeah. Hell, we lived through 21 years of Dirk. You know, and as great as, I mean, even in our own city, the great dynasties that we've had here.
Michael Young.
Yeah. Well, great players that we've had. Man, Michael Young.
Hey.
No. Hold on.
That's a debate we'll have on another one.
Yeah.
Michael Young, dude.
I love Michael Young.
Underappreciate Michael Young.
Michael Young is my dude. No, don't get me wrong. I love Michael Young. That's my dude. That's Mr. Ranger to me.
Me too.
But when you have to debate stats and when you have to debate, you know, his greatness in the pantheon of MLB players, I'm a little on the iffy side with him. But
dude, don't get me wrong.
I love Michael Young, man. I know it, dude. You don't have to convince me. Convince that dude down there. You don't have to convince me.
We'll table the. It's not that I don't appreciate Michael Young, but we'll get into that another episode. But yeah, I mean, I think how lucky we are, even just, you know, as Dallas, to go from dirt, you know, and most teams have to go through a rebuild, and then look what happens. You get Luka, 2 seasons after. So, you know, Rangers right now, they got some work to do. We had some close runs, 2010 and 2011. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but at least we're a franchise now that's been to the World Series, and I'm sure.
I still blame Channel 4 News for that collapse. You know why?
Why?
Didn't they call it?
They tweeted like before the final out that the Rangers had won the World Series with, they were bottom of the ninth with one out. And, two chances, they're like, oh yeah, Rangers win series. And then they wind up losing on, back-to-back hits in the ninth that absolutely sank them. That sucked. Still breaks my heart.
Mine
but
too.
That's another episode for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to RJ's point, I feel like we're lucky to have been able to witness all those memorable sports events and all those memorable dynasties. And I think that for younger people who didn't get a chance to see Michael Jordan play, this 10-part documentary is a good way to go back and just review a great career, a great player. And it makes you wonder, is there another player out there that they could put 10 hours on? And I think, would we be as enthralled with it? Honestly,
Brady.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I
Brady.
don't know if I'd watch 10 hours of Tom Brady.
Well, you know what, bro? I think more than anything, this series wasn't necessarily just about Jordan to me. And we'll recap here in just a few minutes because we're coming up on our 1 hour mark. But to me, what I really enjoyed about the entire series was all the little dynamics that came into play that, again, resulted in that championship formula. While you can say, again, Jordan was probably the largest ingredient in the mix, no doubt about it. But does he still rise to that level without Phil Jackson? Does he still rise to that level without Scottie Pippen? All all the little behind the scenes things that we really didn't know. The one, again, to recap, the one episode where Jordan, basically has to live in his hotel room because he can't go out in public. Everywhere he goes, everybody wants a piece of him. For him to lose his father and what that did to him emotionally. Some of the other stories and some of the other players and some of the fun things, like the whole Nike thing. Again, Nike being, basically a running shoe until Jordan shows up, and all the things that have evolved out of this entire series. I got to truly honestly say it was very well done. It was a great series.
It was, and to be able to be locked in, like, this was one of those series where I couldn't wait till next Sunday to see the next 2 episodes to see what happened, because it was like, man, when they ended episode 8 on the whole Reggie Miller quotes that kind of started out episode 9, that to me was, man, I couldn't wait to see episode 9. I was like, damn it, I went next Sunday, and there's very few TV shows, let alone documentaries, that hold your attention that way.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to point out about Reggie Miller, well, this is not, I'm taking credit for this, but it's more so my girlfriend, is Reggie Miller making up some of these nicknames, like the Black Cat? Because he also claims that they called Kobe the Caramel Cat. And I've never heard anyone call Kobe the Caramel Cat. I mean, I had heard about Black Jesus before, but not the Black Cat.
Yeah. Well, the Black Cat one, if you watch, RJ, there's a clip of him where he's
at a press conference,
and he calls Jordan that Black Cat in the press conference. It was a press conference for him. I think it was after game 4 or game 5 or whatever it was. But he did call Jordan that Black Cat. But that whole Black Jesus story was hilarious, man. Don't ever talk like that to Black Jesus.
Black Jesus.
That's funny, man. But that just goes to show, man, the ultimate confidence when you're going to sit there and tell somebody, I'm Black Jesus, dude. I got you. Don't worry about this. It was fantastic. So I think that this was an exercise for us, not just in viewing, but in commentating on this thing. So I have a challenge for you guys for moving forward. Since Last Dance is done, we're obviously going to have, other topics to talk about, whether they be sports related, be life related. But I always want to try to include something about TV because, believe it or not, TV's a big part of all of our lives. We all have our favorite shows. We all have our go-to movies. So I want to challenge you guys. I want you to, off the top of your head right now, think of a series that you enjoy, not that, has to be out there for everybody else, that maybe you enjoy, that maybe I haven't seen, that maybe RJ hasn't seen. And let's challenge each other to watch one episode of that show that you think would change my mind about it. So for me, I know, bro, you're not real big into Game of Thrones. Right. Never have been.
Right.
You might think it's too long. It's too boring. There's a lot of talking, but there's a lot of action. So I'm going to challenge you to watch one episode of Game of Thrones, and that's the Battle of the Bastards. Okay. Write that down.
Of the Bastards. Okay.
Battle of the Bastards. You've seen it, RJ?
Yeah, I've seen it all 8 seasons.
Yeah, dude, Game of Thrones that's my jam.
I love it.
I love it.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me show you something.
Oh, the night.
Yeah, the Night King phone case.
So I want you to, bro, before our next show next week, you don't have to go watch any other episodes of Game of Thrones, but I want you and your wife to watch that episode.
Okay. Kathy's probably already seen it. She follows Game of Thrones, and bro, like I said, to me, it's not that I'll sit down and watch pieces of it with her, and to some degree, I get into some of the storylines and a few of the characters, and she gets annoyed because I ask her a ton of questions. I'll be like,
yeah,
so why did that guy? What happened to him? Where did he go?
Yeah, that's my wife.
Gets mad at me. She goes, why do you ask me the questions, but you don't want to watch
the show? Yeah, watch the show.
Yeah,
So I'm going to challenge you to watch that episode of Game of Thrones. So I want you to think of one for me, RJ. I want you to think of one and we'll challenge each other to watch these shows in the next week so that we can come back and review them next week.
Okay.
So what's the show, RJ, that maybe you enjoy that you think that we watch that I've never seen, or your dad?
Oof, that's a tough one.
Well, while he's thinking, I'm going to say, for me, the series that I truly enjoy is The Last Kingdom. It emulates in some ways. It emulates some of the ways, in some ways, kind of Game of Thrones, because it's set in a time when England was starting to form, and you had all these Viking invasions and Danish incursions, and how just basically how England grew. But so it does take a lot of liberties, though. It doesn't necessarily follow history, but it keeps some of the stuff intact. I think I like shows like that based on historical events, even if they're fiction, because at least something you can go back and kind of research and understand something about a character or some event that eventually truly transpired. So The Last Kingdom, I'm trying to think what I would say would be an episode that I would want you to watch that would be
that would turn me on to that show.
Yeah. I would probably say if you would watch in season 2. Let me think about the exact episode. I'll have to come back to you because I need to go look at it, because I've watched season 1, 2, and 3 probably 3 times already, because season 4 just came out. And Kathy and I binge watched it. We basically knocked it off in maybe 2 weeks, because it's one of those
shows that catches you. Yeah.
It's
RJ, have you seen The Crown, RJ?
No, I have not.
Okay, so that's my challenge to you. Watch episode 2 of season 1 of The Crown.
Okay.
That's the episode in which Elizabeth becomes the queen, when her father passes and she becomes the queen. That right there is probably the ending of that show RJ, of that episode is
Mhm.
one of the most powerful statements to me, because believe it or not, and a lot of people don't know this about me. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I am a big fan of the royal family.
Hmm.
Cannot explain it. Don't know why, but I love the royal family, man. I love reading stories about them. I love watching all the drama about them. You know, the movie, the Queen, in which Diana dies and Queen Elizabeth has to. That's a great movie, man. Helen Mirren playing the Queen. Oh, dude, watch that movie. That movie's awesome. But anyway, RJ, that's my challenge to you. Crown
Okay.
episode 2
to
of season 1.
Okay.
That the last 5 minutes of that episode, dude, are so powerful that like it had me like, you know, and I've been binge watch. I can't wait till the next season of the Crown comes out. That, you know, that's one of you know, both my wife and I, that's our guilty pleasure is The Crown. I love that show.
Well,
what about you, RJ? What's the show?
You stole my idea with Game of Thrones. I'm a huge like fan of medieval culture in general.
Yeah.
Like I love going to the Scarborough Fair. I can't put on
what
is it. I just think I don't dress up or anything like that. Like let's be clear about that. I'm not saying I'm one of those.
Not that he cares to admit on the
I have
podcast.
you can ask my girlfriend. I've not dressed up at any of those things.
But you're out there eating turkey legs and drinking mead.
Yeah, I'll drink, you know, a beer and have a turkey leg, and just something about, you know, that life or that time period in history, just really stimulates my mind. So you stole mine on that one, but I would probably have to say, you know, I thought about it, and I'd either say Narcos Mexico or House of Cards, and I'm probably going to go with Narcos Mexico because it does, you know, I think, you know, especially given our president today, there's a lot of blame put on the.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
We'll give your dad Narcos Mexico because obviously he's never seen it. He wrote it down. I've seen it.
Okay.
So give me an episode of House of Cards because I've never seen that. I've seen all the hype about it, but it's never like really drew my attention to go through and want to watch House of Cards.
I'll text it to you because off the top of I'll have to think what would be a really good episode that would make you think like, hey, this is something I need to watch. But
so real quick, have you seen all of Breaking Bad, Jay? No?
What?
No.
Okay, so then maybe that's what the challenge needs to be to you. Have you watched any of Breaking Bad at all?
I've seen the first episode, bits and pieces of other episodes, but like you, I mean, it just never, I don't know, just something about it never really appealed to me.
I'm gonna give you the episode where he becomes Heisenberg, where he basically transforms himself into Heisenberg. That is a badass episode.
The thing about Breaking Bad,
huh?
Do you know what season?
Now I'll text it to you.
Okay.
I think it's the first season, I think it's the first. Well, Breaking Bad I don't think it had multiple seasons, did it? Maybe it did. I can't remember.
Yeah. There's like 5 or 6 seasons.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Off the top of my head.
Right.
And that's the thing about Breaking Bad is that honestly, it starts out slow, but once it gets it gets going, man.
And that's what I'm saying. I'll find that episode because when he becomes Heisenberg, when he basically grabs onto that identity and basically says, "I'm Heisenberg," you know, when he becomes that guy, that's when it really gets really interesting. I mean, he basically goes from that lowly chemistry teacher who he's trying to just make some money for his family because he knows he's dying, into the psyche of becoming a
kingpin.
Exactly. And just to see that moment, man, when he snaps.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you text me the episode for Breaking Bad, and I'll watch. RJ, you text me the episode for House of Cards.
House of Cards.
I'll watch that. All right. So my challenge to you, bro, is Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards, and my challenge to you, RJ, is The Crown.
Episode 2, season 1 of The Crown.
Yep. There you go. All right. So we've got our homework for the next show, guys. And everybody else, that's it for tonight. We're at that. We're about that time. We want to say thank you again remember, guys, hit like and subscribe down at the bottom. Hit the bell so you get the notification when our new content comes out. Again, we'd like to welcome RJ as a permanent member of the Now That You Mentioned It podcast. We will be going through a redesign of the logo. I'm working on that right now, along with somebody else, and to kind of incorporate all three of us in there. But guys, again, thank you to Jesse P. We could not do this without him. He made all this possible for all of us. So that's it for tonight, guys. We'll talk to you on our next episode, and have a good one.
See ya.
See ya.